Hello, everybody, and welcome back to round two of challenge number 7, the expedition. Expedition. Anyway, we're gonna bring you a match between Applechips and GameGromp. Applechips is on, I believe, FTS. I haven't actually checked. He's been playing that on ladder. He is on FTS. Okay.
Yeah, and
Um,
GameGromp is on Argenport mid. So, so it looks like we're getting straight down into the action. So we have one of these double Dino Nest draws on the draw. So there's some interesting tension with this hand. It's something you probably premeditate while you're keeping the hand as to are you gonna play Zito? Are you gonna play the Dinosaur Nest 2 and then another one and the Zito on 3, but then that's a little bit less potent.
there's no way you play a Zito on one. In fact, in Worlds, I made that mistake. I drew the Dino Nest. I drew the Dino Nest. Didn't
And
see
just
I drew the Dino
autopiloted,
Nest.
yeah.
God. You pretty much always play Dino Nest in turn two, even if they have answers to it. I think that it's just so powerful to get it early on.
Yep, and we
Especially
see
if you have two of them, like you get the two of them going when you have both Shelter Valleys going. It's just even more insane.
Yeah, on Game Grump's side, we see the first hand just waiting on the mulligan. So
Yeah.
being on the play, you might be able to like light hoof one of the nests that like, but other than that, Pound just has to trade pound for pound for every like the full Dino nest. Like, there's not many answers. Back.
They have the Lunar Claw. Lunar Claw is a decent answer to Dino Nest. You can definitely because you can block out something and you can kill multiple of the dinos.
And
It's a little
there it is.
slow. It is a little slow
Yeah,
for sure,
it
but
it does help being on the play for that, which Game Grump is this game. So we might just see the keep here, like with all that in mind, knowing that Dino Nest and few drops from it. So just maybe thinking about how the card.
right. I think we're probably gonna see a keep here.
Yeah, you don't
They're
love
thinking
it,
about
but
it.
yeah.
They're thinking about it. There's no threats in their hand, but they have a ton of answers that are decent against what
So the thing about how
Chips
this
has.
matchup plays when you pair the cards in deck is that given the 3 combusts or Vikram's bombs and the Vikrams themselves from Applechips, it's like your units aren't actually that good. You really just have to trade pound for pound and really make sure that you're not hoping that you can go over the top with cards like.
It's interesting. I don't know who's actually the quote unquote beatdown here because Chips does have the Zhou plus still stronghold combo, even though he only has 2 Zhous, um and of course 3 still strongholds in the deck. Like that is a huge trump card to whatever your opponent is trying to do. Of course, when you deal overwhelm damage with Zhou, it's just gonna and anything less than 5 health it's gonna be wiped out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
so contrary to some popular belief, I don't actually believe in like who's the beatdown. I more or less believe in like who's setting the pace and who needs to respond to the pace that's being set. And I think Apple Chips in all instances is the pace setter. So it's like, are you allowed to play slowly, Game Grump, or do you have to keep up with my fast pace? So it's not necessarily the same as being the beatdown, but I believe a lot of the onus is on Apple Chips to dictate what the rate at which they want to play the game.
yeah, it's like in a aggro mirror or something like that. There is somebody who's going to be the trendsetter, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
during a game, right? You
Right.
can't. It's not always you can't always predict who's actually going to be the beatdown.
Right.
It is nice to make that prediction.
Of
I don't know.
course. So we see an interesting decision there. So it's between call the hit and play. So one of my favorite cards in this matchup is actually the Parliament Elder. So it really can help you go wide, help you start to develop some of your power. It's not so good that like it might not get combusted out of the gate, and it's not that bad for you if it gets Vikrammed in terms of your threats. Like if say Magna Ventress gets Vikram, then you just get like bonked every turn, like for very
Yeah,
large amounts. But
you lose the armor instantly, generally in that scenario, and um, when you lose the armor, Mind Adventure certainly becomes a lot less potent.
yeah, I'd probably say in the current expedition, Parliament Elder is actually one of my favorite cards to try to like figure out if there's like what's the proper shell for.
I played Parliament Elder in my throne deck
Ooh,
last weekend.
wow, that's a lot more dedication
I
than me.
can't but it didn't work out that well, so you know,
Yeah.
still pretty sweet. Certainly without Insect Swarm, I don't think an Unleash style deck is quite as good though.
Yeah, I'll try to prove you wrong later.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Um,
we see Applechips actually missing the fourth power, and that's pretty big because you have a lot of the haymakers, Vikram, Instill, Stronghold, kind of just like being on pause due to this Lunar Claw. So GameGromp really getting paid off for the decision to keep the second seven and maybe being able to capitalize off of Applechips' stumble. So as I was mentioning earlier, it's like GameGromp is now allowed to play slowly because Chips is kind of allowing them to do that. But speak of
so
the
Chips
devil,
does draw the second um fire, which is the hardest thing in his deck in order to get. Um, I
right?
believe. How it works. Yeah. He has far less fire sources in his deck, so the Riva now is poised to come online. Uh, Chips can play this Still Stronghold and kill this Parliament Elder immediately. He doesn't need to kill it immediately though, because of course it's stunned even next turn.
Yeah,
So
I think you could also make an argument to pump up the Zito and try to address the
yeah,
Lunar Claw. Um,
right.
so you would have to think about combinations of Game Realms cards and come to a conclusion that's only double Shrivel or Shrivel Slay. But given that no Magna Ventress was played, even though you were missing power and all that stuff, you can probably suss that this is happening. But even just being able to get this little stronghold down and just like slowly, take out, be able to utilize this passive ability, all that's like good stuff. So if you can like, for instance, draw power, Riva, and just like be able to get the bonus power from it, that could be a huge.
If Chips can get his influence sorted out, his hand is very good.
Or
Oh,
just
Chips is
power in
okay.
this case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like any power will do to get the Riva out, would be able to. So this is interesting. Not being able to leave up Slay for if an undepleted power comes.
Right. Uh, Evelina. Uh, okay, draw. Um, be able to play this Vikram and save the site if he wants
Well,
by
so
chumping it. Of course, he doesn't
right.
know that there's a slay. Okay.
Well, so yeah, it's kind of interesting because if you play the Vikram also, you end up in a spot where the Lunar Claw can also just address the Vikram and then still lose the site. But then you like unlock your Dino Nest. Like Chips doesn't know that Game Grump has another Lunar Claw, but that is like a line.
So Chips can take out the Lunar Claw now, which um unlocks their Dino Nest. They're probably not gonna play the Dino Nest this turn. They're probably gonna end up playing this the new promo Brogar to take out
Black Book.
this Black Book.
Yeah, so being able to address, well, one thing you really want to do is try to address all the war cries that are happening.
Actually, do they just steal the? I mean, they could. Like the again, they don't know about the situation in Game Gromp's hand. They potentially could have seen a pause though.
I think
Um,
I think I like playing the Krogar. So
yeah,
because you could convince them to play removal on a lot of your cards. Your cards are just so good in this deck. But like Vikram's the prize, so you can just like save it for the last one. Like everything else is just a distraction. Vikram.
yeah. There is a ton of there are a ton of good targets. Like if they had gotten this was a pretty good target. Like the extra attack on the Black Book would have been pretty interesting. Actually, if they had played the Vikram that turn, I believe they could have stolen and killed the 3/2, right? because it's
Well,
not
well the
summoning sick if it goes to your turn.
but the gift is only on GameGromp side, so it'd be a 1/7 into a
Oh,
3/2.
that's true. That's true. Great. Um.
So GameGromp still knows that there's the second Dino Nest, so being able to, but could have also pumped it and been able to attack the Rogar. So pretty interesting to stop this development. But you also know that the Reva is only hitting you for 4, so if your goal is just to delay the game a little bit, maybe draw into another gift or a all played.
The 3/8 anyway this turn.
Yeah, if we see the shrivel in response to it, I think it doesn't get exhausted.
Uh
I'm
no,
not sure though.
it still gets
It
exhausted.
does.
The, the animation doesn't actually happen, but it gets exhausted.
I see. The summon just says exhaust and end. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you steal it and then exhaust it. Okay, cool. So
The
no
double
mistakes
shrivel
there or anything.
does kill. It doesn't double shrivel the 5/5. Probably the best bet to do that. Wait, what?
Well, yeah,
No.
you have the relic
Oh,
weapon.
the lunar claw. Yeah, of course.
There it is.
Finally. I forgot it
Surprise.
existed.
Surprise, I'm back.
Kind of a weird time though, right? For it to come back because if GameGromp had kept that card in hand, it would have been able to discard the Garrote, but all right, decent draw, gets a little bit of value there.
Mm-hmm.
You like oh, Chips kept a power in hand last turn, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So
kind of a
it's
little
like,
punish there.
yeah, exactly. So other than like feigning cards for Black Book Pit Boss, I don't think there's actually a card in Game Grump's deck that like there's no Zito or anything that care about quantity of cards. So I do think that's an oversight. Like, you know,
You
sometimes
can
the players are
bluff.
very focused on, yeah, sometimes like the players can also be very focused on like the match, like what's happening right now, but not necessarily looking at the deck list and stuff. So something that can happen if you play a lot of ladder and don't necessarily adjust fully for tournament play.
Yeah,
Small
I mean,
edges.
the Chips is used to it, but also there are some people who don't, for example, have the equipment necessary. Like you have to, you would have to have like your phone like set up next to you or something, or a second monitor, right, in order
Uh,
to make like really
you can
small decisions based upon that, right?
alt tab.
Yeah, all tabbing messes with my head though. I don't know.
But you have so much time in these direct battles. It sounds like a bunch of excuses.
It does sound like a bunch of excuses.
No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. So we can actually see the Dino Nest getting unlocked here, which is pretty huge for Applechips in terms of really turning this around,
Yeah,
and
enough.
even
I
getting
think
the Reinarch, or I forget exactly what it's called. Yeah,
yeah, I was called it Reinhardt. Yeah.
I always doubt my ability to know card games like names in this game, but I guess I'm not as bad as I. So getting some force blocks here, really just trying to aggro back, but it's precarious, but there is no charge on the other side. Oh, I missed
Oh,
that. Sorry. Yes.
oh, because the gets pumped by the two gifts. Um,
Right.
uh,
Yeah, I
it
always
doesn't just
forget
bump
that.
minotaurs.
I always forget that that tax. I forget that it's weapons and not just relic weapons. That's even more confusing. But yeah, so pretty pretty cool game there where Game Gromp pretty much understood the pace in the game. Lunar Claw being an all-star, but really understanding how to set the pace there. It is possible that if Applechips didn't stumble finding the fourth power, that game might have resolved in a slightly different way. Wouldn't have. So I felt like the big turn was the one where the gift was able to be played, where the Lunar Claw was still up, and if Applechips was able to find an undepleted power, would have been able to play a Riva, but instead found an Evelina, which ended up being inscribed and not being able to
Yeah,
punish the
depleted
tapping out
power.
that turn.
Yep, the depleted power that turn for. Um. Also, I mean, the Lunar Claw was, like you said, an all-star. Not only killing that first Dino Nest, but also locking out the 2 more that for most of the game that Applechips was drawing. So it was just very yeah, just didn't work out so so well for Chips in that game.
Yeah, it was a culmination of a lot of small edges that were sacrificed, but that's partially like Game Grump being rewarded for playing a two faction deck. Like, it's not fantastic. You do have some more depleted power when you're playing a faction deck, but you do have a more the density of your cards. Like, the cards should be more powerful because you're playing a slight power. And
Now in
so, how do you feel about Applechips as opening hand? I think Applechips might be on
it's
the
pretty.
draw.
It looks like he's on the draw. Yeah. I mean, it has a Dino Nest in turn 2. It can't technically play the racking. It's but I think that's fine in your 3 faction deck to not have all your influence in your first hand.
Yeah, it is kind of
So
interesting to me though that like Bomb isn't actually like Bomb has to pair off very specially or something with like the cards that Game Grump is bringing to battle, right? Like, Bomb doesn't have to be good against say like a very relic weapon or removal heavy hand. Um, so it's like they can be like pseudo dead cards for a while.
yeah, and I mean, since he has 2 of them in hand, this Lunar Claw might locking out 2 of them and then killing this Dino Nest is kind of going to be another plan of action that's going to take place. I think. We'll see. He's gonna Lunar Claw. He's gonna Lunar Claw immediately. See the double Vikram's bomb hand. Although
Probably just take the
this means that
bow.
he has to take the bow. He has to
Yeah.
take the bow. Yeah,
Yeah,
which means
so
that the Vikram's bomb can technically kill the. But anyway, yeah.
right, because if the bow's not taken, then the bow's just played, able to kill the claw, and then you pretty much got nothing for your troubles.
Yep. Unfortunately, Chips, or fortunately, depending on who you're cheering for, they got 2 answers to this play, right? Instead of just one.
Oh,
Wonder how many bows they have. They
I thought it was two.
they're
No, it's
running 4
four. It's
bows.
four. Yeah.
4 bows. So 4 of each. That's not that unlikely.
So I'll be honest with you. When I'm casting, I'm always cheering for the most amount of. So I am cheering
Oh,
for
that's
Apple
true.
Chips this game.
Yeah.
And then game 3, you get to see my real lead.
Um.
All right, so we see the bomb choosing to unlock the bow here, but not really being that impactful if Game Grump was able to draw an undepleted power here. But as it stands right now, it looks like it's very much in Applechips' favor.
Yeah. GameGromp really needs power at this point. They're all their threats costing 4 and 5 in their hand. Um.
The charge
That's
one coming out, tussle a
yeah.
little, deal that extra point of damage.
Really plays this. King puts on a lot of pressure.
So the
Um.
problem with the Rat King is you also have to enumerate the hands that are acceptable that Game Grump would keep that has 3 power or 2 power. You can make like some sort of distribution on the keep, because there wasn't a Parliament Elder here. There was another Lunar Claw. So how often is there nothing remains, and then how much do you want to commit into that? Like, is this Dino Nest enough?
But at this point, you have to consider the fact that since they didn't play a power that turn, okay, they decided to play around the nothing remains for sure.
Right,
But you could have put on this does this has about equal amount of pressure, right?
right.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
like, how do you
yeah,
lose this bow? And it's really just the hidden
hidden
garrote.
garrote, which of course they have, but I
But
mean,
but but the garrote wouldn't have happened if they play Nothing Remains. So I like that this just addresses everything that can happen in one play.
the overall another overwhelm unit coming out, of course, the newly nerfed once again Nest coming into play here. Um, that was just ridiculous that it had killer, to be honest.
So yeah, I was gonna ask if you like just passing here. It's I think it's a really tough.
Yeah. In this case, they're gonna get punished, I think, for it. Well, of course they're gonna get punished because they have nothing else. Nothing remains. GameGromp doesn't have a nothing remains in hand, but also being able to them being able to get rid of the Dino Nest kind of punished play a lot.
So with
Um,
with the draw of the second Evelina, I think I like playing Rat King combusting, forcing a nothing remains
yeah,
or something of the sort because you have the charge unit follow up and you can get a lot of material back by getting the first proc.
they get the if they nothing remains here. Ooh, this okay, Gift of the Workbank comes down. This provides some good blocking, but of course, what happens is that do you just okay? So if you Vikram spawn and kill one of the 2-1s, attack with the 1-1. Is that fine
You
play,
could
or do you
just
want to get the Evelina out?
you could just bomb the gift, right? And then
Yeah, that's.
slam and jam.
Oh right, they become 1-1s. That's +2 plus. Anyway, I thought there were 2-1s. After the fact, yeah, this is
Okay,
definitely the play.
I'll forgive you. So so one interesting small decision there is, well, by using the Rat King, you make it so that way you feel like you can't necessarily play the Waystone Igniter because of how much debt you would be put into with all these fives.
Right.
But if you know that the plan's to not play the Igniter at all, then I like this.
You might want to keep around a Waystone Igniter for a plating anyway. That might be something they're thinking about.
Mhm.
They just let it through. They get a 5/5. They will have to eventually deal with this though. They do have the slays in hand, but yeah, okay,
Yeah,
just
so the shrink is kind of to set up for the next, for like how like you could play Waystone Igniter and make a thing, Rat King to be allowed to attack with your Rat King.
this is a nice draw for them.
Yeah,
You
it's
can kill
interesting.
the 2/3. It's not a super strong play this turn,
I think
and
you
it's
can
gonna be
actually hold.
punished, and it would be punished, right, by this double slay.
Yeah, even without knowing the hands, I think I would have held the stronghold and just developed a little bit more. But this, similar to the bow play earlier, this plays around nothing remains best.
Yeah, they're
But you
still worried
kind
about them draw. At this point, they know that they don't have it in hand, but
right.
they could draw it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like if you think you're far enough ahead and like developing this.
Okay, not gonna wait. Not gonna wait around for the plating. They're just gonna put on as much pressure as they can.
I think that makes sense and it's a little bit coherent
There's the
lines there. But Game
yeah.
Grump's like 2 power away from it.
Okay, they are gonna take off the pressure. I mean, they have 6 life. I think they kind of have to. I think that's kind of like a forced play. All right,
Reinhardt, let's go.
Reinhardt coming down. Could have taken it out with the Waystone Igniter, but I don't think this 3 damage a turn really matters that much. And this is lethal technically, but Applechips and GameGromp and also Applechips
Oh
probably
yeah.
knows that they
Well,
have a slay in hand. Like at this point,
yeah,
I
let's
mean,
Riva.
yeah, Riva allow. Yep. I mean,
Yeah, so this is cool because then what you can do is you can play the Krogar if you want, and then if they play Nothing Remains, you still like get the cell off of your site. Like you still get to
right.
develop a lot of units. And playing the Krogar is also nice because if say there's like a Magna Ventress that comes down, you want to make sure you can definitely like, attack and
I don't think you can hold back here, quote unquote. It's also like technically lethal, but I think you want to put some pressure here.
yeah. Well,
Um,
one thing you could do is you could look at the deck list here and just think like, what is the possible like what 2 cards can I give you such that it's like the best.
Interesting. Oh, nothing remains comes off the top. Okay, this is what we predicted,
Yep.
or this
Or
is fine.
yeah, exactly. Because you still get the cell here, then you get to
Still,
play the Kroger.
okay, yep. Boom. Now, the GameGromp has one out. Can they find the third? Nothing remains, and they cannot. Okay.
Well, nothing remains wouldn't work because of the sill. It would have had to be
Oh,
like
that's true. It would have
power
been
and
dealt 4 damage to
plating.
them. Yeah.
But knowing that if a power was already in hand, we would have seen it the previous turn. So it would have to be exactly plating as the last card, but plating as the last card, and for you to not inscribe it earlier when you were stuck on like 5 or 6 power. So condition on all those, maybe just realizing that there can't be a plating, so I'll just make the best play. Like plating isn't more power.
Still getting nerfed does not stop. Did not stop it there. The damage. Um, that was an interesting nerf. I think that it was still was too powerful, but still didn't see a ton of. I don't know. I didn't think still was seeing an over amount of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how powerful it was comparatively
Yeah,
to other cards and strategies.
I mean, sometimes it depends on like how much you want cards to feel like a sledgehammer against like certain archetypes. Like it is true that Sill's
Yeah.
existent. Like if someone just wanted you to not win, it felt like they could by playing through the unknown and ways to get it.
I mean, Silverblade Menace is kind of that card too, and they have never nerfed that card.
Yeah,
So
it's like it feels slightly different to me. Like in terms of say like interactions with Aegis, like the Silverblade Menace versus like still has like very low opportunity cost of like I deploy my threat, it stays in play and has this effect. Whereas like Silverblade Menace, you could be like, okay, you're either choosing to not have a 3/3 flyer because you're hoping to get rid of my Aegis. Like how the development look. Interesting
um
hand from GameGromp.
yeah, this is their second hand notably. So they're on the play. So this is even worse on the play because yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
they go down to 6. They have 2 removal spells, kind of, and that's about it.
yeah, definitely hoping for some help from the top of the deck, but Applechips not having any of their 1 drops or 2 drops, so ultimately probably good for GameGromp, just like not being under the gun out of the gates.
Um, the double Sindane is pretty nice. That means that these this Garrote and the single target removal is actually not as good versus this type of hand from Chips.
So what do you like playing on 3 here?
I do like playing the Sindane. Because Sindane and attacking with Sindane, it gets you back to 3 power next turn anyway.
Yeah, it's
Right?
kind of a tough decision for me because you know that they don't have Parliament Elder and they might not play Lighthoof, like out of respect for like maybe a top deck. That's like they probably do, but you're not sure. It's like you can combo the Rat King by being like, oh, I'm gonna play Rat King and Combust in the same turn, but if you think all they have is like Shrivel and Slay, like I think Rat King is the better play there, so it's
Oh,
kind
they
of a
have a
tough call.
greater played a greater plans. Okay, they do have 4 greater plans in the deck. I didn't even see that. They do have the hero package. So that does make it easier to go 3 faction when you're running that card.
Yeah, going with the high upside play again of if you don't have removal, this is the Sindane's good for me.
Yeah.
I do wonder how this game like I wish we had an alternate universe where like Rat King was played on 3 and just like seeing how that like might force them. As it stands here, just more trading off 1 for 1, not being able to get the power burst advantage from.
Ooh, interesting draw. They can play both in the same turn now. Kind of give a 2. Okay, they're gonna play the Zito instead. I was
Yeah,
thinking that they could play both the Rat King and the bow, giving them 2 different axes of attack. But
yeah, you didn't give the opponent a good spot to light hoof you yet, so I kind of like holding on to the bow. Oh,
ooh,
that's a huge top deck. Just being able
yeah,
to get so much material off of this.
and be able to play the bow potentially. I don't know if they want to do this and play into the potential light hoof.
Yeah, so I actually think you're allowed to here, and the reason is
Yeah.
because you have Rat King plus Combust, so you actually want to invite the Light Hoof because you get to convert the bow into another 5/5 by being allowed to connect.
I, they do draw the gift off the top, they don't want to take too much damage from this. They have the kind of a forced play to play this Medallion and then Rat King and the Combust, and we get another 5/5 out of the deal. Definitely looking pretty strong here for Chips to take home this game 3. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
a lot of this comes down to how long you're allowed to hold on to this nothing remains, or if you're able to draw another one.
I
Like you could, yeah. So I was
okay.
hoping to see this play. I think you want to invite or even make it seem like you don't have access to Nothing Remains and try to get Applechips to commit another Rheinarch. Because I think if you just Nothing Remains there, you don't have enough substance, like meaningfully, like come back from just a pair of 5/5s. So you want to nab another
Okay.
5/5 here. And this block is also very smart. So if you block one on each, you give away that you have the Nothing Remains or that that's your only plan. By doing this, you get them to commit a Rheinarch at the cost of 3 damage, which is more than fine with you.
Yeah. Now notably, Chips still has 3 solid threats on the back swing, but of course, GameGromp does have the black book, which is pretty good. Of course, Chips has the Victim's Bomb, which it just was top deck, which is
Well, it gets
a
discarded by
nutty draw,
the
kind of.
it gets discarded by the black book.
Oh, that's true. Jeez, I always forget how strong that card is.
Yeah, I just assume it does everything. I didn't even realize I had Warcry 2 for a while. I thought I had Warcry.
Yeah. I can't remember what other cards have like Warcry X, besides like Icaria and this
Isn't there
card.
that Oni that like is
Oh yeah,
kind of lordy or something like that? I don't really remember what it does. It was before my time.
the 4 cost 3/2.
Yeah.
Kyojin.
Sure, you could have said any combination of syllables and I would have believed.
um.
So yeah, the call to hit, not being able to hit Black Book, normally would, but with the gift of the Auroch Bank in play, just that passive effect.
A good draw from Chips. Definitely can go wide here, especially as
Ooh,
oh
but one good draw begets another, and this one's very interesting because these units have taunt. You can actually like normally. So I actually really like this because normally when you're behind, you have to play around a removal spell. Maybe you can attack, but with taunt, it's like, hey, my things are so big you can't attack. And by the way, since you're not attacking, I get to start eating your things, which isn't common in these sorts of battles.
makes this smart attack here, knowing that getting rid of some of the cards that can that can take out these taunt units is pretty nice. Um,
I just love
man,
how
what a
I just love how GameGromp played this game, like just being very rewarded drawing these gifts, but a lot of it comes from like not tipping the hand of the Nothing Remains. And like an argument can be made that like Chips had to play the way that they did, but GameGromp definitely didn't give off like that much of the scent of like I have the Nothing Remains.
all right. So a flyer comes out that might be useful, even though I think this might even it's not lethal, right?
Right.
But like
So one thing that's funny. Oh, actually, okay. So one thing that's funny is that the rats not being able to block was actually more of a feature than it was a bug. Like
yeah,
you can't be taunted if you can't block.
yeah.
So,
Game Grump certainly has top deck pretty well here.
yeah,
The Magnaventures off the top as well for lethal. Uh,
but their cards are just like so high impact. Like a lot of them are just
yeah,
removal or like these huge haymakers. See Game
yeah.
Grump taken down in a very interesting match.
All right. Uh, take a look at if there are any backup matches.
All right, we're just
Okay.
chugging along. You know, quick 30-minute round. It's like it's what we like to see. So the players just jamming. So we're gonna cut to a commercial break, and we'll be back for round 3 of the challenge number 7.